Near mint condition, the home of collected editions. And check out that eye, that's exactly what we want to see. Woo, look at that panel, baby. And that, as they say, is that. By Crumb, the Cimmerian is back in black and white format. That's right, today we're going to be talking about the Savage Sword of Conan, Volume 1 from Titan Comics and Heroic Signatures. So, join me. And welcome back, everybody. Before going any further, a big thank you to the folks at Titan Comics for sending us a copy of this collection. What we're looking at here is the latest collection in the world of Conan the Barbarian. Now, one thing I want to make sure is that you're aware that this is all in black and white, and this is in a magazine trim size. So this is the way it was originally published, and as you can tell, it is the exact same trim size as the magazine, which is crazy. I love that they're doing that. Kind of reminds me of what DC was doing with the Black Label books that were oversized and coming out in hardcover, but it is in soft cover and it uses the same cover as issue number 1, or the A cover, the Joe Jusko cover. Now, we'll be doing an internal comparison because they're using a different paper stock for this collection. So in case you don't have the magazine, here it is, compared to the size of a trade paperback. You can just see how much bigger it is, how much taller and longer it is. And to the size of an omnibus. Now, an omnibus is just a little bit taller, but the magazine trim size makes it a little bit longer right there. So you can get a better idea. Let's look at those spines. So yeah, just a little bit taller than this. While we have the spine up, let's go ahead and look at it. We have Volume 1, the Savage Sword of Conan logo, Arcudi, Fafner, Searcher, Zub, Pace, Tieri, Nord, and Qua. And then the Heroic Signatures and Titan Comics logo down there. And then this piece right here from issue number 2. The Titan and Heroic Signatures logo. The Savage Sword of Conan makes a triumphant return from Heroic Signatures and Titan Comics. And then what it collects, and then the ISBN, the retail price of this is being $24.99. So we are going to open this up and talk about some of the stories in here, kind of give you an idea of what stories are collected in here for Conan, and look at the build of it, and then of course do the comparison to the actual magazine. Alright, let's go ahead and open this book up. Here is an ad for the Conan Cult of the Obsidian Moon by James Lovegrove, and then the Savage Sword of Conan, and then it's broken down by issues. So this does collect this Savage Sword of Conan issues 1, 2, and 3, and then of course who the writer artists are on each of the stories. And one thing you're going to notice right here is the return of one other Robert E. Howard character. I love that we kick-started this. You know, this came exactly from the magazine. So this is the way that it was printed in the magazine. We do have an introduction from probably the gentleman that most people connect to Conan comics, and that is Roy Thomas, who wrote an absurd amount of comics and adapted and created new characters in the 70s, and then later on when he came back to the comic and then started doing some other stuff too for Marvel. But there's a wonderful introduction from Roy Thomas and just his relationship with the Cimmerian. And we have this piece right here from the ongoing series artist Roberto de la Torre, who is an amazing artist. We have a Hyborian Age map. I love maps, absolutely love them. And then we have issue number 1. Now, one thing you're going to note is that the covers in here are in black and white. They aren't in color, including the variant covers. So everything in this magazine is in black and white. This book has 208 pages, and again retails for $24.99. And it is Conan going back to that Savage Sword era. So really quick, back when Conan was at Marvel Comics in the 70s, the series was doing so well that Stan Lee and Roy Thomas decided, hey, why don't we do like a black and white magazine type of book and call it Savage Tales. Savage Tales unfortunately got canceled, but then Conan got his own ongoing monthly magazine called Savage Sword of Conan, and it wasn't tied down by the Comics Code Authority, so they could do a little bit of nudity, they could do a little bit more violence, and a lot of people gravitated towards that. A lot of probably young readers, right? Like myself, I would have been like, oh my gosh, boobage and violence, I'm in. And it's Conan, right? It's probably closer to what the books were. Now, that's what they're doing here. However, if you're reading the Jim Zub run, you know that that stuff is in there too. They're not tied down by the Comics Code Authority, so they can get away with more mature themes there. The first story here is written by John Arcudi, and the artwork here is by Max von Fafner, and his art is freaking stellar. I love the look of his art. It does kind of give me that vibe of Conan back in the 70s, like the black and white magazine. You know, of course, using some computer-generated artwork as well. But there's just something about the way that he draws his characters. I dig it. So this is a one and done, kind of like most of the Conan stories where Conan becomes a mercenary leader. They're serving this exiled prince, and Prince Sahid, that's his name, promises riches to anyone that can get him his kingdom back from his brother. So his brother's taking over his kingdom. So Conan finds himself here at odds, not just with not just with the brothers' army, but also like dragon people and lizard people, and that's what this story is about. And of course, his own employer turning on him, because I mean, what is a Conan story without betrayal? So this is the story of Conan and the Dragon Horde, and that's how we kick it off. So it's kind of actually the way to kick it off, right? Like, I think if you're gonna bring back Savage Sword of Conan, it's definitely got that mix of violence and adventure, a little bit of sensuality thrown in here. Now the book that story is only about 40, I want to say almost 50 pages. We do have a short story here that is actually about the Stygian drawing that Joe Jusko did, that is also collected here, and it is by series writer Jim Zub. It's 2 pages, and then we get the return of none other than Solomon Kane. That's right, in The Master of the Hunt. Now, this isn't really a standalone story because this continues into issue number 2, and I thought, oh, okay, that's what we're gonna do. And it's true to the Savage Sword and Savage Tales that we have backup stories. This one's only about 16 to 18 pages, and it does feature the character of Solomon Kane, who's another Robert E. Howard character. This is all set in Wales, and it's about how he's just wandering the countryside and runs upon this family that could have some demonic possession going on here, and he decides, you know what, let's stick it out, let's stay here and see what this is about, because maybe I can be of service. So it does end with a little bit of a cliffhanger, if you will. And then we get to issue number 2. Again, the covers are done all in black and white, and I swear I would not sit here and talk about each of these books, but I find them just so unique and interesting in different ways. This is the story by Jim Zub, so he is the series writer, and then Richard Pace. And when I say series writer, he's writing the ongoing Conan series. This is a story about Conan dying, or maybe he's dying, and how he's going to make a last stand, and how he's going to try to make an effort to try to save this people that are trying to help him. So what happens here early on, you get this little bit of a flashback. Conan is spending his time as kind of like a bodyguard to this merchant, and the merchant is offering to pay off his debt. He becomes friends with the son. What is his name? The little boy that wants to be like Conan. He loves hearing the adventures of Conan. Pesach, I think, is the name of the merchant. And the son's... It doesn't matter. Anyway, the entire convoy gets killed by these demonic creatures. Every one of them gets killed. You know, Conan's sword to protect them, and even he is left for dead. However, he struggles to get near a tree where he just passes out and he thinks he's dying, and then he's approached by another young boy. Now, this isn't the same boy. This is another boy from a nearby village who is trying to help him. So he brings him food. This kid's Tarif, that's his name. Now, these demonic creatures could also be taking over his town. So even though Conan couldn't save that young boy that admired him from Pasich's convoy, he swears that because this kid is helping him out, he's going to do everything he can to stop these creatures from killing anybody in that village. I thought that was a cool story. We get a continuation of Solomon Kane's story here, part 2, but it does wrap up in issue number 3. So speaking of issue number 3, that's what's also collected in here. And this is the one by Frank Tieri and also Carrie Nord, who's no stranger to working. Both of them are no strangers to working on Conan. Carrie, of course, did a lot of the artwork over at Dark Horse Comics. But this is another unique story for Conan, where perhaps he is turning into a werewolf. So it's a mystery of sorts, where Conan could be becoming a werewolf or is a werewolf, or it could just be a nightmare that he's having. And then we have, again, the conclusion of the Patrick Searcher Solomon Kane story right here, where he's helping out those people in that town. And we are also given this third story in here. It's a silent, no dialogue story by Alan Qua. And it is beautifully drawn and laid out with no dialogue. And then in the back, we have the cover art and variant covers. All of them, again, in black and white. And then the creator bios and ads for other Conan stories. And as far as the binding of the book, it is glued binding. It is printed in this really thick matte paper, though. So it's a lot different than the paper stock Richard Pace's artwork through this story is so different than what I'm used to. It's so brutal. It's so rough. I love it. But I want to compare this right here to the magazine paper stock. The magazine paper stock they were using was this kind of like newsprint paper, and I don't know if they're still using it or not. Whereas this over here is using like a thick matte paper stock, and I mean thick. Over here, this is definitely newsprint, or feels like newsprint at least. It looks like about the same dimensions. There's definitely more artifact over here that you can see, but again, that comes from the type of paper stock, where over here, it's just clear and crisp. No bleed through happening over here because of the type of paper stock they're using. And actually, the contrast here between the black and white is a lot better than over here. It's a little muddled at times when it comes to the black and white. And let's just look at one more page as far as comparison. Yeah, this almost feels, how do I compare it? Like a little blurriness. I don't want to say pixelated, but a little bit blurry, as you would get like on a television, that you're going from like DVD to like HD quality type of art. I think that's probably the best way I can compare it. But that is it. I only wish that the covers were printed in a glossy paper stock and they were in color. That's the only wish I had. But perhaps they're going to do that when they make an omnibus of this one day. That would be great. I would love to see an omnibus, a hardcover collection of this with the same dimensions. That would be freaking awesome. But that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this volume, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count and of course the build of this collection. Let me know in the comments down below if you are picking this up, if you're buying the magazines as it's coming out, and if you want to see this collected one day perhaps in a hardcover format. But that was my overview. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button. And that's right, Conan is back, baby, and it looks like he's here to stay. Stay healthy and safe out there, everyone. Much love.